And once again, this style is dedicated to the Heavenly Father, because you know you're wrong.
Where can they go? Where can they turn when they your name? That fire burns that every soul.
Follow the commandments that Jah set forth, cause man made laws, made man laws. Follow the commandments that Jah set forth, cause man made laws, made man laws. Whoa.
Commandment number 1, to know there is a God. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. Commandment number 2, not to even think that there are other gods beside him. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. Number 3, to know that he is one. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. 17, not to embarrass others. Leviticus 19, verse 17. Number 18, not to oppress the weak. Exodus chapter 22, verse 21. Number 19, not to speak derogatorily of others. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16. 20, not to take revenge. Leviticus 19, verse 18. 21, not to bear a grudge. Leviticus 19, verse 18. Number 64, not to attempt to contact the dead. Deuteronomy 18, verse 11. Number 67, not to perform acts of magic. Deuteronomy 18, verse 10. Number 70, men must not wear women's clothing. Deuteronomy 22, verse 5. Number 71, women must not wear men's clothing. Deuteronomy 22, verse 5. Number 72, not to tattoo the skin. Leviticus 19, verse 28. Number 74, to repent and confess wrongdoings. Numbers 5, verse 7. Number 85, to bless the Almighty after eating. Deuteronomy 8, verse 10. Number 86, to circumcise all males on the 8th day after their birth. Genesis 17, verse 10. Number 87, to rest on the Sabbath day. Exodus 23, verse 12. Number 88, not to do prohibited labor on the 7th day. Exodus 20, verse 11. Exodus 20, verse 10. Number 92, to rest from prohibited labor on Yom Kippur. Leviticus 23, verse 32. Not to do prohibited labor on Yom Kippur. Leviticus 23, verse 32. To afflict yourself on Yom Kippur. Leviticus 16, verse 29. Not to eat or drink on Yom Kippur. Leviticus 23, 29. To rest on the first day of Passover. Leviticus 23, verse 7. Number 97, not to do prohibited labor on the first day of Passover. Leviticus 23, verse 8. Number 102, to rest on Rosh Hashanah. Leviticus 23, verse 24. Number 103, not to do prohibited labor on Rosh Hashanah. Leviticus 23, verse 25. Commandment number 114, to eat matzah on the first night of Passover, unleavened bread. Exodus 20, verse 18. Commandment number 121, to afflict oneself and cry out before God in times of calamity. Numbers chapter 10, verse 9. Commandment number 123, not to have sexual relations with women not thus married. Deuteronomy 23, verse 18. Commandment number 124, not to withhold food, clothing, and sexual relations from your wife. Exodus chapter 21, verse 10. Commandment number 125, to have children with one's wife. Genesis 1:28. Commandment number 127, a man must not remarry his ex-wife after she has married someone else's. Deuteronomy 24, verse 4. Commandment number 132, the rapist must marry his victim if she is unwed. Deuteronomy 22, verse 29. Commandment number 133, he is never allowed to divorce her. Deuteronomy 22, verse 29. Commandment number 134, the slanderer must remain married to his wife. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 19. Commandment number 135, he must not divorce her. Deuteronomy 22, verse 19. Commandment number 139, not to have sexual relations with your mother. Leviticus 18:7. Commandment number 140, not to have sexual relation with your father's wife. Leviticus 18:8. Commandment number 141, not to have sexual relations with your sister. Leviticus 18:9. Commandment number 142, not to have sexual relations with your father's wife's daughter. Leviticus 18:11. Commandment number 143, not to have sexual relations with your son's daughter, Leviticus 18:10. Commandment number 144, not to have sexual relations with your daughter, Leviticus 18:10. Commandment number 145, not to have sexual relations with your daughter's daughter, Leviticus 18:10. Commandment number 146, not to have sexual relations with the woman and her daughter, Leviticus 18:17. Commandment number 147, not to have sexual relations with the woman and her son's daughter, Leviticus 18:17. Commandment number 148, not to have sexual relations with a woman and her daughter's daughter, Leviticus 18:17. Commandment number 149, not to have sexual relations with your father's sister, Leviticus 18:12. Commandment number 150, not to have sexual relations with your mother's sister, Leviticus 18:13. Commandment number 151, not to have sexual relations with your father's brother's wife, Leviticus 18:14. Commandment number 152, not to have sexual relations with your son's wife, Leviticus 18:15. Commandment number 153, not to have sexual relations with your brother's wife, Leviticus 18:16. Commandment number 154, not to have sexual relations with your wife's sister, Leviticus 18:18. Commandment number 154, not to have sexual relations with your wife's sister, Leviticus 18:18. Commandment number 155, a man must not have sexual relations with an animal, Leviticus 18:23. Commandment number 156, a woman must not have sexual relations with an animal, Leviticus 18:23. Commandment number 157, a man must not have sexual relations with a man, Leviticus 18:22. Commandment number 158, not to have sexual relations with your father, Leviticus 18:7. Commandment number 159, not to have sexual relations with your father's brother, Leviticus 18:14. Commandment number 160, not to have sexual relations with someone else's wife, Leviticus 18:20. Commandment number 161, not to have sexual relations with the menstrually impure woman, Leviticus 18:19. Commandment number 169, the high priest must not marry a widow, Leviticus 21:14. Commandment number 170, the high priest must not have sexual relations with a widow even outside of marriage, Leviticus 21 verse 15. Commandment number 171, the high priest must marry a virgin maiden, Leviticus 21 verse 13. Commandment number 172, a priest must not marry a divorcee, Leviticus 21 verse 7. Commandment number 180, not to eat non-kosher animals, Leviticus chapter 11 verse 4. Commandment number 186, not to eat worms found in fruit on the ground, Leviticus 11 verse 42. Commandment number 187, not to eat creatures that live in water other than kosher fish, Leviticus 11 verse 43. Commandment number 188, not to eat the meat of an animal that died without ritual slaughter, Deuteronomy 14 verse 21. Commandment number 190, not to eat meat of an animal that was mortally wounded, Exodus 22 verse 30. Commandment number 191, not to eat a limb torn off a living creature, Deuteronomy 12 verse 23. Commandment number 192, not to eat blood, Leviticus 3 verse 17. Commandment number 193, not to eat certain fats of clean animals, Leviticus 3 verse 17. Commandment number 194, not to eat the sinew of the thigh, Genesis 32 verse 33. Commandment number 195, not to eat mixtures of milk and meat cooked together, Exodus 23 verse 19. Commandment number 196, not to cook meat and milk together, Exodus 34 verse 26. Commandment number 200, not to eat fruit of a tree during its first 3 years, Leviticus 19 verse 23. Commandment number 204, to ritually slaughter an animal before eating it, Deuteronomy chapter 12 verse 21. Commandment number 205, not to slaughter an animal and its offspring on the same day, Leviticus 22 verse 28. Commandment number 206, to cover the blood of a slaughtered beast or fowl with earth, Leviticus chapter 17 verse 13. Commandment number 207, to send away the mother bird before taking his children, Deuteronomy 22 verse 6. Commandment number 208, to release the mother bird if she was taken from the nest, Deuteronomy 22 verse 7. Commandment number 209, not to swear falsely in God's name, Leviticus 19 verse 12. Commandment number 210, not to take God's name in vain, not to take the Most High's name in vain. Exodus 20 verse 7, Exodus 20 verse 6. Commandment number 211, not to deny possession of something entrusted to you. Leviticus 19 verse 11. Commandment number 212, not to swear in denial of a monetary claim. Leviticus 19 verse 11. Commandment number 213, to swear in the Most High's name to confirm the truth when deemed necessary by court. Deuteronomy 10 verse 20. Commandment number 214, to fulfill what was uttered and to do what was avowed. Deuteronomy 23 verse 24. Commandment number 215, not to break oaths or vows. Numbers 30 verse 3. Commandment number 217, the Nazir must let his hair grow. Numbers 6 verse 5. Commandment number 218, the Nazirite, he must not cut his hair. Number 6 verse 5. Commandment number 219, he must not drink wine mixtures, or wine vinegar. Numbers chapter 6 verse 3. These are laws concerning the Nazirites. Commandment number 220, he must not eat fresh grapes. Numbers 6 verse 3. Or picking up at verse 221 concerning the laws for the Nazirites. Commandment number 221, he must not eat raisins. Numbers 6 verse 3. Commandment 222, you must not eat grape seeds. Numbers 6 verse 4. Commandment number 223, he must not eat grape skins. Numbers 6 verse 4. Commandment number 224, he must not be under the same roof as a corpse. Numbers 6 verse 6. Commandment number 225, he must not come into contact with the dead. Numbers 6 verse 7. Commandment number 234, not to plant diverse seeds together. Leviticus 19:19. Commandment number 235, not to plant grains or greens in a vineyard. Deuteronomy 22 verse 9. Commandment number 236, not to crossbreed animals. Leviticus 19:19. Commandment 237, not to work different animals together. Deuteronomy 22 verse 10. Commandment number 238, not to wear shot nets, a cloth woven of wool and linen. Deuteronomy 22 verse 11. Commandment 239, to leave a corner of the field and cut for the poor. Leviticus 19:10. Commandment number 240, not to reap that corner. Leviticus 19:9. Commandment number 250, to give charity. Deuteronomy 15 verse 8. Commandment 251, not to withhold charity from the poor. Deuteronomy 15 verse 7. Commandment number 279, to rest the land during the 7th year by not doing any work which enhances growth. Exodus 34 verse 21. Commandment number 280, not to work the land during the 7th year. Leviticus 25 verse 4. Commandment number 281, not to work with trees to produce fruit during that year. Leviticus 25 verse 4. Commandment 282, not to reap crops that grow wild that year in the normal manner. Leviticus 25 verse 5. Commandment 283, not to gather grapes which grow wild that year in the normal way. Leviticus 25 verse 5. Commandment 284, to leave free all produce which grew in that year. Exodus 23 verse 11. Commandment number 285, to release all loans during the 7th year. Deuteronomy 15 verse 2. Commandment 454, observe the laws of menstrual impurity. Leviticus 15 verse 19. Commandment 455, observe the laws of impurity caused by childbirth. Leviticus 12 verse 2. Okay. Commandment number 467, not to steal money stealthily. Leviticus 19:11. Commandment number 468, the court must implement punitive measures against the thief. Exodus 21:37. Commandment number 469, each individual must ensure that his scales and weights are accurate. Leviticus 19:36. Commandment number 470, not to commit injustice with scales and weights. Leviticus 19:35. Commandment number 471, not to possess inaccurate scales and weights even if they are not for use. Deuteronomy 25:13. Commandment number 472, not to move a boundary marker to steal someone's property. Deuteronomy 19 verse 14. Commandment number 473, not to kidnap. Exodus 20 verse 14. Exodus 20 verse 13. Commandment 474, not to rob openly. Leviticus 19 verse 13. Commandment 475, not to withhold wages or fail to repay a debt. Leviticus 19:13. Commandment 476, not to covet and scheme to acquire another's possession. Exodus 20 verse 15. Exodus 20 verse 14. Commandment number 477, not to desire another's possession. Deuteronomy 5:19. Deuteronomy 5:18. Commandment 478, return the robbed object or its value. Leviticus 5 verse 23. Commandment 479, not to ignore a lost object. Deuteronomy 22 verse 3. Commandment number 480, return the lost object. Deuteronomy 22 verse 1. Commandment 41, the court must implement laws against the one who assaults another or damages another's property. Exodus 21:18. Commandment 482, not to murder. Exodus 20:13. Exodus 20:12. Commandment 483, not to accept monetary restitution to atone for the murder. Numbers 35 verse 31. Commandment 484, the court must send the accidental murderer to a city of refuge. Numbers 35 verse 25. Commandment 485, not to accept monetary restitution instead of being sent to a city of refuge. Numbers 35 verse 32. Commandment 486, not to kill the murderer before he stands trial. Numbers 35 verse 12. Commandment 487, save someone being pursued even by taking the life of the pursuer. Deuteronomy 25 verse 12. Commandment 488, not to pity the pursuer. Numbers 35 verse 12. Commandment 489, not to stand idly by if someone's life is in danger. Leviticus 19 verse 16. Commandment 495, not to put a stumbling block before a blind man. Leviticus 19 verse 14. Commandment number 499, conduct sales according to Torah law. Leviticus 25 verse 14. Commandment 500, not to overcharge or underpay for an article. Leviticus 25 verse 14. Commandment 501, not to insult or harm anybody with words. Leviticus 25 verse 17. Commandment 502, not to cheat a convert monetarily. Exodus 22 verse 20. Commandment 503, not to insult or harm a convert with words. Exodus 22 verse 20. Commandment number 518, pay wages on the day that they were earned. Deuteronomy 24 verse 15. Commandment number 519, not to delay payment of wages past the agreed time. Leviticus 19 verse 13. Commandment 526, lend to the poor and destitute. Exodus 22 verse 24. Commandment 527, not to press them for payment if you know they don't have it. Exodus 22 verse 24. Commandment 528, press the idolater for payment. Commandment number 529, the creditor must not forcibly take collateral. Deuteronomy 24 verse 10. Commandment number 530, return the collateral to the debtor when needed. Deuteronomy 24 verse 13. Commandment number 531, not to delay its return when needed. Deuteronomy 24 verse 12. Commandment 532, not to demand collateral from a widow. Deuteronomy 24 verse 17. Commandment number 534, not to lend with interest. Leviticus 25:37. Commandment 535, not to borrow with interest. Deuteronomy 23 verse 20. Commandment number 537, lend to and borrow from idolaters with interest. Deuteronomy 23 verse 21. Commandment number 540, appoint judges. Deuteronomy 16 and 18. Commandment 541, not to appoint judges who are not familiar with judicial procedure. Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 17. Commandment 542, decide by majority in case of disagreement. Exodus 23 verse 2. Commandment 543, the court must not execute through a majority of one. At least a majority of two is required. Exodus 23 verse 2. Commandment number 544, a judge who presented an acquittal plea must not present an argument for conviction in capital cases. Deuteronomy 23 verse 2. Commandment 553, the court must give lashes to the wrongdoer. Deuteronomy 25 verse 2. Commandment 554, the court must not exceed the prescribed number of lashes. Deuteronomy 25 verse 3. Commandment 555, the court must not kill anybody on circumstantial evidence. Exodus 23 verse 7. Commandment 556, the court must not punish anybody who was forced to do a crime. Deuteronomy 22 verse 26. Commandment 557, a judge must not pity the murderer or assaulter at the trial. Deuteronomy 19 verse 13. Commandment 558, a judge must not have mercy on a poor man at the trial. Leviticus 19:15. Commandment 559, a judge must not respect the great man at the trial. Leviticus 19 verse 15. Commandment 560, a judge must not decide unjustly the case of the habitual transgressor. Exodus 23 verse 6. Commandment 561, a judge must not pervert justice. Leviticus 19:15. Commandment 562, a judge must not pervert a case involving a convert or orphan. Deuteronomy 24 verse 17. Commandment 563, judge righteously. Leviticus 19:15. Commandment 564, the judge must not fear a violent man in judgment. Deuteronomy 1:17. Commandment 565, judges must not accept bribes. Exodus 23, verse 8. Commandment 566, judges must not accept testimony unless both parties are present. Exodus 23, verse 1. Commandment 567, not to curse judges. Exodus 22, verse 27. Commandment 570, anybody who knows evidence must testify in court. Leviticus 5:1. Commandment 571, carefully interrogate the witness. Deuteronomy 13:15. Commandment 572, a witness must not serve as a judge in capital crimes. Deuteronomy 19:17. Commandment 573, not to accept testimony from a lone witness. Deuteronomy 19:15. Commandment 574, transgressors must not testify. Exodus 23:1. Commandments 575, relatives of the litigants must not testify. Deuteronomy 24:16. Commandment 576, not to testify falsely. Exodus 20:14, Exodus 20:13. Commandment 577, punish the false witnesses as they try to punish the defendant. Deuteronomy 19:19. Commandment 580, not to add to the Torah commandments or their oral explanations. Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. Commandment 581, not to diminish from the Torah any commandments in whole or in part. Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. Commandment 582, not to curse your father or mother. Exodus 21:17. Commandment 583, not to strike your father or mother. Exodus 21:15. Commandment 584, respect your father or mother. Exodus 20:13. Exodus 20:12. Commandment 585, fear your father or mother. Leviticus 19:3. Commandment 586, not to be a rebellious son. Deuteronomy 21:18. Commandment 587, mourn for relatives. Leviticus 10:19. Commandment 588, the high priest must not defile himself for any relative. Leviticus 21:11. Commandment 589, the high priest must not enter under the same roof as a corpse. Leviticus 21:11. Commandment 590, a priest must not defile himself for anyone except relatives. Leviticus 21:1. Commandment 591, appoint a king from Israel. Deuteronomy 17, verse 15. Commandment 592, not to appoint a foreigner. Deuteronomy 17:15. Commandment 593, the king must not have too many wives. Deuteronomy 17:17. Commandment 5 the king must not have too many horses. Deuteronomy 17:16. Commandment 595, the king must not have too much silver and gold. Deuteronomy 17:17. Commandment number 601, not to dwell permanently in Egypt. Deuteronomy 17:16. Commandment 608, he who has taken a wife, built a new home, or planted a vineyard is given a year to rejoice with his possessions. Deuteronomy 24, verse 5. Commandment number 609, not to demand from the above any involvement, communal or military service. Deuteronomy 24, verse 5. Commandment 610, not to panic and retreat during battle. Deuteronomy 20, verse 3. Commandment 611, keep the laws of the captive woman. Deuteronomy 21, verse 11. Commandment number 612, not to sell her into slavery. Deuteronomy 21, verse 14. Commandment number 613, not to retain her for servitude after having sexual relations with her. Deuteronomy 21, verse 14. And I pray that the Most High will bless the reading of His Word, the reading of the 613 laws, statutes, and commandments. I pray that you, brethren, are blessed by them as well. Shalom.